Hello, everyone. COVID 19 is a unique situation that we are all together facing as a world. And situations like this, crisis like this, is an opportunity for us to grow, learn, be more resilient, be more confident about facing not just this challenge, but any other challenges that may come our way in the future. But for us to be able to do so, it's important to feel safe and secure and supported. I'm Dr. Manpreet Khemka. I'm a child psychiatrist by profession and a mother of two daughters. And today I'm going to talk about what we can do as parents to support the emotional well being of our children. The main areas I want to touch in this talk is what are the problems that are on a rise in children during these times? How does an anxious child look like? What does regression look like in children? When we are seeing these red flags, what we can do as parents to help support our child, and when is it that it's time to seek professional help. So again, we know, going by the last several months, there have been changes at major levels in society. Earlier it was lockdown, now life is getting back to normal. Parents have started going back to work. Some parents are still working from home. Children have, some places started going back to school with all due precautions. Some children are still doing the distant online learning. Sometimes school starts, but they have to be closed because of the spike of cases. The travel plans have been restricted. Festivals are not looking the same as they used to look before. Families are not meeting because of the social distancing part. Some children have sadly seen family members, loved ones being diagnosed with COVID. In some cases, there have been deaths that children have been exposed to. So, all in all, it's a scary, confusing situation for children. And the kids who had some problems even before COVID, like, say, an anxious temperament, anxiety disorders, mood disorders, some other health issues, medical problems, some learning problems, developmental issues like, say, autism spectrum or ADHD, they are also more prone and more vulnerable to the effects that this crisis is causing on our psychological health. So, what we want to discuss is, when we see the signs, what we can do to support our child. So, how does an anxious child look like? Now, there is not one picture that it can fit in. It can present differently in different children. But for younger children, mostly we will see that the child is coming with the same question, asking repeatedly. Now, it's important for us to understand that when a child is anxious, their mind is focused on the danger, focused on the negative, and their assessment of the risk is much more magnified than it truly is. So even though we console them, which assure them it's not sufficient enough, they need to hear it again and again. It's not that they are being difficult, but it's just that their perception of the danger is much bigger than the true reality. So that's one presentation. Secondly, it can show up in some of the behaviors, like being more clingy. They want you to be in their sight all the time. They don't want to sleep in their own room by themselves at night. They want your physical presence to comfort them. Sometimes we see it as changes in their temperament. They are getting more irritable, getting into fights with siblings way too much than they used to do before. They may be engaging in behaviors like avoidance. For example, even stepping out of the house is a big deal. Going to school can be very anxiety provoking. It can cause meltdowns, temper tantrums, arguments in the mornings. Even for a parent to go to work would be met with the same tantrums and meltdowns. It can also cause certain behaviors, for example, repeated hand washing. Now we know that we need to do that as a precautionary measure. It's important for us not to follow these diligently, not to catch COVID. But again, somebody who is doing it to an irrational number, 25, 30, hundreds of times daily, to the point that it's consuming not just their day, they are spending so much time doing that action, but it's causing physical changes. I've seen kids who have their whole the skin of the arm, the skin of the hands is peeling off they are doing it as much that much. There may be avoidance to be in the same room as family members, be around family members, even with all the due precautions taken. There can be signs at a physical level. When you're not able to relax, the child is kind of in a tensed up state, muscle tension all the time, which can present as headaches, somatic pains, abdominal pains. Then they have this difficulty sleeping at night. So again, there are also some regression signs. For example, they are being more clingy. They start talk like a baby. So a 10-year-old doing the baby talk. Again, that's a need for them to seek assurance, seek security from your side. They may be biting their nails. They may be pulling their hair or twisting their hair. So all these are signs of an anxious child who has been going through regression. Now, in addition to this, it's important to understand that when a child is anxious, he or she cannot enjoy the other simple things in life. Other moods cannot be enjoyed. So that predisposes them to depression and other mood changes. So losing interest in things that they used to enjoy, feeling like they don't have any motivation to do schoolwork or put the efforts into getting their school assignments done. That is also one add-on problem that comes with anxiety symptoms in children. So when we see these changes as parent, it's a very natural question that comes to our mind. Is this normal? How long this is going to last? And what can I do as a parent to support my child? So I'm going to go through some simple tips, tricks, suggestions from my end, how you can address these issues with your child, and I hope you will find it useful. So first of all, yes, these changes are perfectly normal. Considering the transition and the big picture that the kids are being exposed to, it's very normal to see these changes. Now, how long it lasts really depends on what your approach is, how you're supporting your child, their temperament in the past. And there is no one answer to it, how long it lasts. Different children, they have unique personalities, unique strengths, unique deficits there that we need to just custom tailor them to meet their needs. Second, it's important for parents to know that this is not something that will go away on its own. This needs to be addressed. As a parent, our job is to make a connection between their actions and their feelings, and to bring it to them as a mirror. So help them have a reflective stance. Help the children see these changes and encourage the communication so they can talk about what is it that they are feeling inside that is making these changes in their behavior. Third, very important thing, to be able to support your child, you have to be grounded and stable yourself. So if you are a parent who is struggling through wearing different caps throughout the day, managing your jobs, managing your meetings, and then playing a role in education of your child, being there for them, helping them with their assignments, figuring out the technicalities of it. If you may not be tech savvy and now you are burdened with helping your child with the online schooling. So that all can take a toll on you. So if you feel you are not currently stable and you are stressed out yourself, seek support. So ask for help from your spouse, your good friends, your family members, maybe your employers sometimes. Sometimes it's important to get in touch with your child's teacher. Let them know that these are the difficulties you're having. What can they do to help you and your family through with this crisis? People are willing to help each other. They are coming together as communities to do the needful. So, very important next point to help support your child is to establish a structure. Have an expectation of a routine in their day. So regardless of whether they are staying at home, you're having meetings at home, or whatever other commitments are, it's very important to have kind of a groundwork. What is it that can be expected during the day? So especially for young children, and it could be as simple as knowing what I'm supposed to do right now, what's coming next. So again, when I talk about structure, I'm not talking about Pinterest, color-coded, minute-by-minute schedule to your day. Leave some room for flexibility, for changes as the day goes on, but just have some basic framework as to what to expect. So for example, have a clear-cut, rational time that your child is going to wake up, start his or her day. So 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever it is. Being at home does not mean that their waking time has to extend beyond, say, 12 o'clock or 1 in the afternoon. So they have to start their day. They have to get freshened up, take shower if they take shower in the mornings, wash their face, brush their teeth, have a healthy breakfast, maybe do something active outdoors, and then get to their academic work. So many schools, when they have a structure or a timetable that they're following, between two periods, they're having some break time, maybe 20-25 minutes, for the child to relax basically. And one thing that I'm hearing from parents is that in that break time, many times children are still on their gadgets. So they are still playing video games or chatting with their friends on the phone. They are still on gadgets. So this is something that we as parents need to uh, kind of guide our children, that this break time needs to be used a little bit more productively and constructively. Not being on gadgets, not staining our eye muscles, not sitting in the same posture, because it's going to cause health problems. We have heard about computer vision syndrome, the shoulder pains or the backaches. That's on a rise in children because of those overstretched hours that they're spending on internet. So have a routine, have fixed meal times, and that means the main meal times and the snacking time in between. So that will help them. Try to give them a balanced diet, a wholesome diet, something that will help with their satiety, something like fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, salads in between as snacks, handful of nuts, eggs, poultry, milk. Avoid any unprocessed food. Avoid any of those highly concentrated sugary syrups, highly concentrated juices that the kids may be using as snacks. So again, our role as parent is also to support the well-being of our children and their physical health. So what we are feeding them is definitely going to decide. It's definitely going to influence their overall well-being. Have some exercise in routine. So that means outdoor exposure, going outside, playing in sun, releasing your energy, playing with your siblings. Do something playful outside, so that you're getting that steam out. So physical exercise it has to be an important part of our day-to-day structure. Next, have a sleep routine, and that means that there is a specific time, rational time, by which the child is expected to go to bed. Evenings, try to make it gadget free, electronics free. If you have to see together as a family show, make it kind of limited, 45 minutes, 1 hour, that you're all coming together. Make the meal times gadget free, so you all can sit together on the table and talk about what's going on in the day. Then limit social media use, limit the screen time for your children. And I would strongly recommend that you be a good role model. You are modeling those behaviors yourself. So the constant news on the TV talking about these negative things can also alleviate children's anxiety. So make sure you are being a filter, you are controlling what they are watching. And then if they are on screens, if they are interacting with other family members, friends through social media, through Zoom, I would definitely encourage that to maintain that sense of cohesiveness and connections. But also be aware of what your child is watching or what your child is being exposed to on the internet. There is much danger lying there. Lots of apps that can have inappropriate content. Many of these apps kids are going through, even younger children. So you have to be absolutely sure what the child is watching. So now, cohesiveness, coming together as a family, working together is important. It's also important to have some private downtime where children, teens, parents are doing something that they want by themselves. So every time being together, doing everything together can also cause conflicts. It can also cause more fights, more struggles between individual family members. So take care of that part. Encourage your child to develop new hobbies, new interests. That is not just going to give them some coping skills, coping muscle to deal with the situation we have in hand, but also as a future. If anything is stressful to them, they know that's their go-to point that can help them de-stress and relax. Involve the children, little children, in a kind of a team effort. So the families are working together. Simple chores, assign it to them. Kids like to be feel useful and productive for the family. Encourage them, praise them when they are doing that. So you are not just building the family cohesiveness there, you're also building future responsible citizens of the society. Now, be futuristic. Talk to your children about what plans do you all have when the COVID is over. Sometimes kids, they have a tendency that they cannot see things through a time frame. This may start appearing as if it's a permanent thing. So just having some plans as to when this ends, this is where we are going to go, vacation plans, that's going to give them hope and optimism to look forward to future. Again, communicate safety, communicate that protection, and I cannot overemphasize the role of just the physical proximity. Hold your children, hold their hands, hug them, snuggle with them, be it bedtime, story time, or even all day, through the middle of different activities they are doing. Hold them close to you. That will give them that sense of security and protection. So that's basically in a nutshell what we can do to support our children. If you, despite all these things, all these efforts, you still feel that things are going downhill, your kids are not adjusting well, they're having lots of these symptoms, then it's never too late to ask for professional help. If there is something I can do to help your family or your children through with this crisis, I'm just a call away, just a message away. Shoot an email, shoot a comment, PM, personal message me, and I would be very happy and glad to answer your queries. So stay safe, be healthy until we meet again. Take care. Bye-bye.